next thing you need to know about to keep yourself secure is how do you secure your wireless router, and why would you want to? Well, you absolutely want to secure your wireless router because if you do not, then anybody can use your wireless, your wireless router. They'll have access to your router. And at the most basic level, they'll be able to get free internet access if they're living near you. So they'll just open up their laptop and they'll discover that your wireless router doesn't have any kind of protection on it. And then they can browse the web and do whatever the heck they like, which might include downloading illegal movies, or downloading movies illegally, downloading, software, music illegally. And then if there's ever like an issue like, oh, hey, millions of dollars of intellectual property has been downloaded through this router, let's send the FBI to talk to him. The FBI will knock at your door and say, what are you doing downloading all this stuff? And you'll be like, oh, I didn't secure my wireless router. It was my neighbor or somebody else. I don't know who it was. It wasn't me. So you want to secure your wireless router for that reason alone. It also, if somebody else is using your internet connection, they are taking some of your bandwidth. So if you're trying to stream a movie, you might have a slower connection if your neighbor, or you absolutely will have less bandwidth for yourself if your neighbor is also using bandwidth to stream movies and download things. And so securing your wireless router just means that, only you and the people you want to allow to use it will be able to use it. So it's a good idea to do it. So here are the steps that you need to take to secure your wireless router. We're going to go through these each individually. First off, how do you get to your wireless router admin homepage? So when you plug a wireless router into your home network, and a lot of times, like if you have Comcast cable, they'll give you a modem, which is also a router, but you might have your own router. So no matter what kind of router you have, you just go to Google and you type in something like router admin login page, or linksys, right? Linksys router admin login page, or D-Link, right? Whatever it is, or Comcast router admin login page. Accessing and set up a wireless gateway might count Comcast. I don't know. I've never done it with Comcast. But eventually what it'll tell you is something like this, like go log in to your go to your web browser and type in this IP address, and you'll get some sort of IP address like that. And so you'll type that IP address in, and it'll take you to an admin page, right, where you're not on, you're not looking at this page on the internet. You're looking at this page right on your router. And so that's where this page is coming from. And as you change these things here on this page, it changes the settings on your router. So that's how you get to the admin page. And then the first thing you want to do is you want to change the SSID. Your SSID is the name of your network, and you can make it any name you want. And so if you leave that to a default SSID, all that tells people is like this person hasn't changed any of the settings on their router. And so just go ahead and change your SSID to something. And you can Google funny SSIDs, right? And you could see some of the names people have called their wireless routers. One that I heard of the other day was pretty Wi-Fi for a white guy, right? But some of these in here, well, I'm not going to read those. One was like FBI van. Like here's a default one, right? Linksys, and it's unsecured. So that person's done nothing to their router. Yeah, I don't know. FBI van was a pretty funny one. Caitlin, stop using our internet is another one. FBI surveillance van number 42. Funny. All right, so those are SSIDs. Change your SSID. And then the next thing after you've changed it, we're going to do something else to the SSID in a second. But the next thing you want to do is change your admin password. So again, on this this main page here, you'll have a place for admin password somewhere over there in the options. And router admin password, and you'll come to a page which looks like this page here, and you'll just change the password. That's all there is to it. But something to know is like, oh, what do you do if you forgot the password? Well, you could go and you could Google again. You could Google Linksys or whatever your router is default password, and it'll tell you what the default password is. And so if you're somewhere else and somebody else has a router and you want to be, a hacker, one thing you could do is you could just go back and you could press the reset button, and it resets it to all the defaults. And so here's another reset button. Sometimes you need a little paper clip to stick in that hole, and then you push a little button inside that hole. And when you reset it, it resets it to all of its defaults. And so here you can see Netgear's default password and login credentials. And then once you have the login credentials, you'll be able to log into their router because you've reset it, and you'll be able to put whatever settings you want on there. Yeah, so that's something to know about. But you actually physically have to have access. So the next thing you want to do, change SSID, change the admin password, and then you want to enable encryption. So let's get rid of, oh, I like that page. Let's get rid of some of these. We're done looking at those. And so to enable encryption, there's a couple of types of encryption, but again, somewhere on that admin page, there'll be something for encryption. Security mode is what it's called here. And you might have like WPA versus WEP. WEP is old and less secure. WPA is new, more secure. So you just choose that encryption mode, and you make a little bit of a note of it. And it might also have you set a key, which you'll want to write down. Here's the pre-shared key. And so that will be kind of like another thing. That'll be like the password you use when you're at another computer to log on to the router. Different from the admin password, which logs you into the admin page. So you want to enable encryption. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to disable the SSID broadcast. So here's the wireless SSID broadcast, and you're going to choose disable. So all that does is it doesn't disable your wireless router. It stops your wireless router from going, hey, there's a wireless router here, and this is what it's called. The wireless router's here, this is what it's called. It no longer will broadcast out that, it's a wireless router and this is its name. So if people don't know that the wireless router is there, they're not going to be able to discover it as easily. They won't just see it when they open up their laptop and say, are there any wireless access points here, right? They won't be able to see it. So disable your SSID, that's the next step. And then the final step that you could do is you could do MAC address authentication. And that sounds really woo. But here, if we go to the command prompt, right, and we saw this already, CMD, we go to the command prompt, and then I type in ipconfig/all. It gives me information about my configurations for Internet Protocol. And every computer will have devices to connect to networks. Or if they do have a device to network, right, like here's an Ethernet adapter, it will have a physical address, also known as the MAC address. So there's the very unique, specific only to my computer, MAC address. And so I take that MAC address and I go into my admin page, right? And somewhere in my admin page, I'll be able to set MAC addresses for devices that I'll allow to connect to this computer. And so only if a device has the correct MAC address will it be able to connect to this router. And so those levels of protection, when you set all that, means that it's going to be super hard for anybody to get onto your wireless network, right? You change your SSID, you change your admin password, you enabled encryption, you disabled the SSID broadcast, you enabled MAC address authentication. And so, right, they aren't going to be able to discover that your wireless router is there. They aren't going to be able to use that default password to get onto the admin page, even if they were able to discover it, right? They will need a password to get onto the router, right? Once they have, if they've discovered it, or people who want to get on it will need a password. All the data sent between whatever devices and the router will be encrypted, so nobody could grab it out of the air. And they have to have only one of a certain limited number of computers who have been authorized to use that wireless router to be able to use it. They'll need a computer with the appropriate MAC address to use that wireless router. So, those are all steps you take to secure your wireless router. And that's something you want to do if you haven't done it already. And again, this is for like your Linksys, sys, your D-Link, your wireless routers you buy at the store. I don't know how the Comcast ones work. I've never done it. I don't have a wireless Comcast router, but you can just Google that and see what kind of options are there. All right, that's wireless routers and securing them.